Good evening, everyone. It's Friday, June 27, 2025, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, Friday night here in Champaign, Illinois. You're watching Co-op for Two. My name is Jesse. You're joining me for part 3 of Detective Box Woodlock University. This is a cold case game with some very serious internet multimedia components. A long game. We've played 2 sessions so far and gotten through all of the first box and maybe 90% of the second box. There are 3 boxes. So I've scheduled part 3 for tonight, part 4 for tomorrow night. I expect we will finish it tomorrow night, but it's not guaranteed. Now, we normally try to play these games every day until we finish them, but last weekend I decided we would finish it off this weekend. So it has been 6 days or so since we played this, and it's a complicated case with a lot of people. So I suspect we're going to have to spend a little bit of time refreshing our memory, going over some facts. Probably we should have taken some notes in Google Docs when we stopped playing. So this may be a little bit of a rough start. And if you haven't watched the first 2 parts, totaling 12 hours, you shouldn't jump in here. This will make no sense. Let me check in with the chat, see who we've got here, how everyone's doing. We will do a recap. We'll go back through the website. We will look at the evidence, the digital evidence and the physical evidence. So it'll take us a little bit of time to recap. So last night I did a mystery tabletop game news session. If you are interested in games in this space, you might want to check that out, see what new games are crowdfunding, etc. On Sunday, we'll be playing our Reading the Solution and talking about theories for our latest Dear Holmes case, which has everyone completely mystified. All right, so before we do a little recap, let's do a meta recap of this game so far. It's been very impressive. The website system portal here is about as well done as any we've seen, and more sophisticated than any we've seen, and it's really not a bad system. And this is the only English game that this French company, has made available, translated. But they do have another game, and I'd be very curious to play a follow-up from here. Lots of multimedia, and this portal is done very well. So let's start perhaps by looking at this portal. So we're on box 2. The mechanics here are that we've got 3 assistants working for us. One person is for interviewing people. One person is for searching this intense woman, our boss. Actually, it says she's our field agent, but she feels like she's our boss. And one is this police inspector who we've just gotten some information from. He's got police files. Here are our goals, our tasks for the second box. Oddly, we haven't completely solved this question. Let's click on it to have a reminder of what we're supposed to figure out. Who left her the note, the girlfriend the note, and who was he going to see? Perhaps this will make more. Maybe I should recap before. Maybe we should do a recap before I go into all this, because it may not make sense. All right, before I do our recap, does anyone have anything else they want to talk about? All right, let's do a little bit of a recap of our case and remind ourselves what we're dealing with here. We've got a dead kid named Henry Coleman. He's been stabbed to death. Is this a better view? Okay, he's been stabbed to death. He's a student at Woodlock University. He's a very bright student, wants to go into politics. We've since learned that he actually came to Woodlock University because his biological father, he just discovered and connected with, works here. Okay, he's found in weird circumstances with this cryptic graffiti written here. No knife on the scene, and a backpack with some items in it. A cell phone, a watch, a key around his neck, a bloody handprint. We have and a condom, which we think is just because people are having sex in this boathouse. We've since traced the watch to his biological father, who's a professor, who gave it to him. So that mystery is solved. This key around his neck is symbolic of the Copper Circle, which is a secret society at this university for people in power, people being groomed to take political power. And this is, in fact, a code that they use, we eventually discovered, which says snitch. So either he was killed for being a snitch, or this is what someone wanted to make it look like. Interview with the mother, and we hear that the sister came home right after visiting him. We still can't talk to her for some reason, but it looks like maybe she had too far to go. She couldn't have killed it. We have a time of death at 9:25. We learned about the secret society directions. We found codes on the back of old paintings that got us into the secret society headquarters, where we got a bunch of stuff. On the day he was killed, it was announced that he got this prestigious internship for the White House, and a new person has filled his place. There's a motive. Someone could have killed him to get this political position. These were printouts of digital materials we got, which were the codes that told us how to get into the secret society headquarters, where it was. unless there's more information about how to break a code. In our first box, we got a list of all the student IDs that had been in the boathouse where this guy was killed. And part of our mission for the first box was to find the identities of all those people that were in the boathouse. We also got this shredded note that seemed to suggest Matt was in the secret society with our guy, and it gave us information about how to get into a website. That was box number 1, and we could look here at the digital items from box 1. This website portal is actually quite clever. You can filter through. So here were the items we got from box 1. We talked to all the other students, and then we found the secret headquarters of the Copper Circle. We're told in the Copper Circle that part of what you do when you join it is you give them a sort of Damocles. You give them evidence that could be used against you to show your trust in the society. And when we looked at what Henry Coleman gave them, it was a postcard that we saw, that we'll see in box 2. Okay. Now, we met a whole bunch of people. This Alex is the suite mate who is also part of the Copper Circle. Arthur McDouglas is a rival. I can't remember. I think he is in the Secret Circle. Greg Scott is a arm wrestler guy, part of the Secret Circle. He was dating a girl that, I don't know why she's not on here, a girl, Katrina, who maybe Henry was having an affair with, but probably not. That could have given him a motive. Patrick O'Brien was someone that didn't get along with Henry Coleman. Alex Park is another political, I guess Alex Park is not really involved in our case. She was someone we looked up before we realized this was the Alex we wanted. Matt Radley is supposed to be Henry Coleman's best friend, but we're told there's some rivalry. Caroline Sheridan is the girlfriend of Henry Coleman, and they were going through some trouble, probably because he was cheating on her. Jenny Dunn is the friend of Carolyn Sheridan in cheerleading. She's partial alibi. So if you click on any of these people, for example, Arthur Douglas, we have his interview and we can read his statement here. And they all give us information about their alibis and other people. So it's actually pretty clever little system here. All right, how do I get out of this? All right, so that's all box 1. Let's check with the chat before I move to box 2. We were told a student was missing from the list of people that went into the boathouse. We never found out who that was. That's not quite right. Jamie reminds me, we didn't talk to Katrina till box 2. She was out of town, and she's been alibied. Arthur is the dean's son, the dean is a member of the Copper Circle. Okay, what we were told in box 2 is that another ID had scanned into the boathouse, but we don't know who it belongs to. We don't know that it's a student. In fact, we quite suspect that it may have been a professor that Henry was having an affair with. So a key part of box 2, we also got in box 1 a map. of the university and a yearbook with students, but also a list of professors and where they stay, and the dean of students. And one of them we've traced to be Henry Coleman's biological father. That was Thomas Young. But in box 2, we learned some interesting things. First of all, let's see. First of all, we found the sword of Damocles evidence that Henry Coleman submitted as the thing that would get him in trouble. And it's very interesting. It is a postcard from someone that he looks to be having a love affair with. Merry Christmas. I thought you might like a good old American postcard, seeing as you've probably all snowed under right now. Okay, and then we noticed that it was from Texas. So we think the person he's having this affair with, MK, is from Texas. Now, we know he has a girlfriend, so one reading could be, this girl is saying, what does she say? Girl or guy? We don't know, really. It looks like a woman's handwriting. She says, I've been thinking a lot about you. I hope you have no regrets. I sure don't. I know you're pretty set on Caroline. I respect your wishes, but I think what we have is special. So if the choice is between seeing you in secret or not at all, so be it. MK with a heart. So she seems to be having an affair. MK, Henry Coleman is having an affair with this person, MK. Could just be she's talking about keeping it secret from Caroline. I suspect that this is a teacher. And we got our clue to who that might be. We searched for all MKs. We didn't find any MK first name, last name teacher, but we did find someone that jumped out at us, and that was Sonia McCowie, MK McCowie. And we've actually run into Sonia when at the time of the crime. We'll get into that in a second. But this seems key for us, although we don't have a motive for her. But this sounds like he might be sleeping with a teacher in secret. So that's that. We do have handwriting here. If we could find more handwriting from someone, there's that. We got this mysterious note from T. Congratulations, honey. Here's a little something I've always held close to me. I hope you'll cherish it as much as I have. This is some staff, but we've discovered that T is for Thomas, his biological father. So that is the watch and the card solved. Now, at the scene of the crime, actually, are we told where this gum wrapper is? Because it's quite important where it is. So there's a button. I don't think we remembered that button. I certainly had forgotten it. So I want to write that down as a little bit of a clue. And I think we need to remind ourselves where these items were found. So there's this gum wrapper with a phone number on it. We have not tried calling this number yet. I believe it's a UK phone number. And in this pen was a secret message that contained the code to Henry's voicemail. Now, where are these found? In the backpack. Crumpled up note found in backpack. This crumpled up note is actually written on the back of a piece of gum. That's going to be important for us. But these items were found in and around the backpack, I guess. All right. At some point, okay, here are minutes to a meeting by the Copper Circle. We actually got this from the Woodlock University website when we got into the website with a secret link. We learned about the Copper Circle and the copper key being a symbol. And then here's Katrina, who's a member of the Copper Circle, but we know she's in Dublin now. And then we downloaded the minutes from 10/10/2012 by President the Artagnan. And that's what I've printed out here. The most important thing, perhaps, this is just discussion about how they're all politically connected. But the most interesting thing we got here is their nicknames, their code names. And we know what some of them are, and that's what I've printed out and blown up here. We know Katrina is Cousteau because she likes water stuff. We think Armstrong is a reference to Greg, who's an arm wrestler. We think Henry may be Gandalf. I think we've confirmed actually now that Arthur is, well, actually we're not sure. Maybe we should return to that. We've connected some people because they're mentioned and some people by handwriting. Like we know this is Greg because that's his A when we saw the note that he left, I think. And we know this is Marie Grace based on her little flourish. Jamie says Reagan is Matt. I don't think that's right. It may be, but we don't know that. We have to be careful about distinguishing between things we're guessing and things we're not. The reason we guess that Matt might be Reagan, I think, was because of his politics, which made us think that Henry was Kennedy for being a liberal. But I don't think it's quite right. But I do think this was told to us in a phone call. As a side note, here's a little tip that I always remember, but we don't always remember to do, which is you should get into the habit when you write some information about where your source is, so you could go back and double check it. So we should have noted that this, we think, is because we've seen Marie's writing and Greg's writing, etc. But we'll come back to that. But I put a question mark here because we're not sure yet. Especially since we have reason to believe someone may be trying to mislead us. We have a schedule for Henry Coleman's schedule, which is quite interesting. We may have to keep coming back to, but you can see he has penciled in MK here. And we know he was killed on a Wednesday night at around 9:35. And look, he's penciled in MK on this Wednesday when he was killed. And then we've got other information. So there may be more information that's relevant to us. Thomas Fox was his father. Now, does he have any classes with Sonia? Yes. Okay. So I don't remember if we noticed this before, but I think he's having an affair with Sonia. And here, in fact, is a little bit of a connection to her, that he actually has her as a professor. So that is actually kind of interesting. Here he is. He has her twice a week. So we'll come back to that. Maybe I don't need to put that in there. All right, now, the knives. This was one of the two puzzles we've struggled with, or I was upset by. I want to spend a moment talking about why, but let's do our recap first. We noticed the knife wasn't found at the crime scene, and Jonathan Warner had a brilliant idea. He said, look, this is the map where the body was found in room 29. Wouldn't it make sense that maybe someone would throw the murder weapon in the lake? We checked the lake and it wasn't there. Then I thought, hey, we should probably check this lake too. It's such a good idea. And in fact, we dredged up a bunch of knives, and one of them was our murder weapon. And I noticed that that happens to be right near where Sonia has her office. And we listened to a voicemail of Henry's, we're going to get to that, where we can hear his girlfriend running into Sonia near here. And she actually hears some water. So I think that Sonia disposed of the knife, and maybe Sonia is the killer, but I'm not 100% sure. So anyway, this was our puzzle about the knife. I'm going to talk about that before we get started today, why that was such a bad puzzle. But let's finish recapping first. More minutes from the Copper Circle. This one only attended by a few people. And this is interesting because this is a meeting where they're talking about the note that Carolyn, Henry's girlfriend, got, telling her to show up at the boathouse. So Caroline got this note under her door, and she says, meet me at the boathouse tonight at 6:30. I have a surprise for you. And notice that it's got this curly A, which we think is Greg. So we think that Greg has dropped her a note to Carolyn to try to get Carolyn to walk in on her boyfriend, our victim, Henry, while he's having sex with this mystery person. So someone was trying to break up Caroline and Henry by getting her to walk in on Henry at the boathouse. We also hear about Caroline's run-in with someone on her way home. We'll come back to that. But this note that was dropped off for Caroline is the subject of this meeting by the Copper Circle using all their code names. And let's see what it says. Member Gandalf was the victim of a breach of the Golden Rule. Their Sword of Damocles was partially disclosed to an outsider. In other words, someone is disclosing to the outsider Caroline that member Gandalf was having an affair with this person at the boathouse. So that's how we've connected Gandalf being the code name of Henry. And here is Henry complaining about it. And it says, handwriting analysis led member Kennedy to identify member blank as the author of the note. We think he's identifying Greg, codenamed Armstrong, as the author of the note. And then they say, why would he have... Member Reagan demanded to know why. We don't know who exactly that is, but he's asking why. He won't say. And as guardian of the circle, member Kennedy. So we did not write this down, but this clearly seems relevant for us to write down, that actually Kennedy, although we don't know who that is, we now know that this is the guardian of the circle. We don't know who that is, but we may learn about that later. All right, so now they say that Greg is going to be kicked out of the circle. That might be a reason to kill our guy. Now, you know what I didn't realize here? Minutes from October 16th. So I think we assumed this was the night of the death of the murder, but now I'm thinking it's not. On Monday morning, an anonymous note. Ah, yes. Okay. So that note is dropped off Monday. And here he was planning to meet MK a Monday at 6. All right. So maybe I just forgot that. But this is when the note was telling her to show up. Then they have a meeting of the Copper Circle and kick out Greg, who left the note. So that means that Greg does have a motive to kill our victim on Wednesday, and that would be consistent with calling him a snitch. So that's very important. Because the note was 2 days earlier before the death, now the snitch comment makes sense. However, any of these people could use that knowledge to frame Greg. All right, so, and then here we have a smaller group of these people that were there at that meeting. Okay, very good. So now we've got a good motive for Greg and good opportunity for others. We got follow-up on the autopsy and some interesting details. Some bruises on the shoulder that we're told came from someone's hand holding him down. Blunt force on the head that would match an oar that might be in the boathouse hitting him. Depth of knife wound to the neck, which killed him. And black eye. No DNA on your fingernails, which looks like maybe he didn't fight back. No defensive wounds. But white wool fibers found on the body. And traces of aerosol, which we think is from the spray paint. Now, this white wool we traced to something. Let's continue reading this before he does. Shape and extent of the blunt force trauma to the head indicates victim was hit by an object consistent with a rowing oar. He fell face first on the ground. We do have the bloody palm print. He's got bruise on the knee as well. The bruise on the left shoulder is someone holding him down. Hematoma on knees and right palm. Bruising on the victim's left shoulder appears to be formed by the hand of an assailant from the force of pinning the body against the ground. So we think maybe someone hit him on the back of the head. He fell forward, then they held him down and cut his neck. And a close-up of the graffiti, which was part of the solution to that. And then here are the items from the backpack. Sandwiches, which maybe we should pay attention to. He hasn't eaten the sandwiches for whatever that means. Button was found in the backpack, small note on the backpack. The crumpled up paper was in the open front pocket of the backpack. So I think that might be planted as a setup, but we'll come back to that. All right, and then we got this document that we haven't made use of. And in fact, let me put this on our to-do list to make sense of the door code history. So I think, what did we learn here? We could see when on the time of death, I think what we figured out, okay, orientation, floor number, door number, building number. So here is our boathouse where he was killed. And this is all for Henry. So here's Henry's complete set of access. And here he is. The last thing he ever does is go into the boathouse at 9:28. But this would let us track down his movement over the course of the day when he died. Here he is, 8:51. So we could track his movement on the day he was killed. We haven't done that yet, but we probably should do that soon. And then here we are talking to Katrina, who is out of town and comes back in town and finally tells us a little bit more about the copper circle, about the alias. She admits her alias. She gives us her alibi. Then she says, I went straight to the airport. She says, Matt is possessive. Alex was sharing the same suite with Henry. Was enough. Oh, so one of the theories is that maybe Matt is gay and maybe Matt and Henry are having a gay relationship, and that's why Matt is possessive of Henry. And Marie is Matt's girlfriend. Yes. So a little bit of motive here for Matt. A little bit of discussion on Alex. She's from a successful family, but Henry is smarter than her. That might make her jealous. Henry is from Canada. And then what about your boyfriend, Greg? And she says, what? He's not a suspect. He gets jealous, but we're moving in. He's twice Henry's size. He could have beat him up if he needed to. And Henry seems to be fairly calm to me. Here's Grace Marie's statement. We weren't super close. She puts the blame on Greg again. Things have been rocky. More shade thrown on the best friend, Matt. They had a huge fight at the first aid course last Wednesday. No idea what happened. Had to do with a watch. Okay, well, you know what? Hold on. Have we not thought about what's Matt's last name? Matt Radley. So Matt Radley is not an MK unless MK is used for some other, unless the K is something else. And then we just got photos of everyone here. So, all right, let's check in with the chat. Then we'll look at the online stuff from day 2. But I think going over this again has shed a little bit of clarification on some issues. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll put the sandwiches in the to-do. Like why he's brought sandwiches for someone doesn't seem relevant, but could be. Is Matt from Texas? That's an interesting question. What's Matt's middle name? Says Anna. Look at the interview files to see if they're missing a red button. That's interesting. Let me put the red button on here too. I'm not sure we've met anyone with this red button, but I wonder if we shouldn't look at their photos to see if we can't find anyone even wearing an outfit with a red button. Should we? I wonder now, we haven't even bothered with these photos, but I wonder if we should just make sure that no one is wearing an outfit that would have a red button on it. That shirt doesn't have a red button, does it? Let's just make real sure. But of course, we don't know. That red button wasn't found at the scene. It was found in the backpack. So I don't, even if we find who has this, it's not Henry's button. All right, well, we'll come back to that. I think Anna asked a good question, like, what's Matt's middle name? Or is there any other clue about why he would be referred to as MK? Even though I don't think that's going to be him. He brought the sandwiches to the rendezvous with MK. Yes, I don't know if we could draw any conclusions about what it would mean that they didn't eat them. All right, let's look at our online evidence from Bach 2 and see if there's anything else we've missed here. All right, so we did find a bunch of police records, most of which don't seem immediately relevant, but one of which is a call to the police, which is very important. Okay, here's Sonia. This is my, although she didn't seem very possessive, but there's the biological father. I think we better listen to Sonia's comment again. And then the voicemail to Henry from his girlfriend on the day she runs into Sonia. So we're going to look at all this in a second. And one of the big weird things is that someone calls into the police, allegedly Henry, chewing some gum. And we have some real doubts that it actually is Henry. Jonathan asked, did we ever try calling the number? No, we didn't. But the gum is a little bit of a clue. All right, so before we look at this online evidence, well, okay, let's look at the online. Let's look and listen to the online evidence here that's important for us before we move along. So here we've got a police. So the police records are basically generic. So in other words, we can look through any police records of all different types from all different years, and some of them seem to be unrelated to us. So here's a September 10th, someone arrested for using a fake ID, Grayson Sands. License revoked last month. He had changed his license plate, an attorney. So this doesn't seem important. Doesn't seem related to our case. Is it possible it is later? Potentially, but we don't know how that would be related. It could just be disguising the other cases that are relevant. All right, this one is harassment. Mirabelle Conrad, harassment claims following a suicide attempt by Ashley Bones, bullying. Again, this case doesn't seem to be relevant to us at all. It could just be decoy, red herring to throw us off the trail, make it so it's hard for us to know. Why is it so hard to get out of this? So let me close these. Okay, but then we got something quite relevant. We got the voicemail, the call from Henry to the police. Let's look at the transcript first, but then we should listen to it because the person seems very calm. So when have they called? They've called exactly when we think Henry was killed. All right. Hello, yes, my name's Henry Coleman. I'm a student. We're going to listen to this. But here he is saying, I'm calling to report illegal and immoral wrongdoing by a group of people at the university. It's about a group called the Copper Circle. So he's telling all about the Copper Circle. And he's revealing it all. It includes the university dean, his daughter Katrina, his son Arthur, who goes around like Ronald Reagan. So that's why we think Arthur is Reagan. That's why I have updated the theory that Arthur is Reagan. And I'm just going to put a note here that's Henry's call to police. If that's accurate. Now, if this person calling in is trying to set up fake information, it's possible that they're lying about this. Anyway, this person is telling all about the Copper Circle. He says they need to be investigated. The whole family needs to be investigated. It's rotten to the core. It's not fair to the other candidates for this internship, perhaps. Now, here's a subtle clue in the vein of Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of Baskervilles. So see if you can think what I just realized. Here's Henry, supposedly, calling in to reveal all the information about the Copper Circle. Now, we have no sign that Henry was disgruntled with the Copper Circle. It's one of the reasons why we doubt this is really Henry calling in. But this would be a motive if someone heard him telling all about the Copper Circle. You can imagine the Copper Circle would kill him and leave a note that says snitch. But what do you think I mean when I refer to the Hound of Baskervilles and Sherlock Holmes with regard to this paragraph? Here, I think this CI is with him chewing gum or something, but he stops. But I want you to notice something. It's the dog that didn't bark. He's telling on the Copper Circle, but notice he's not mentioning everyone in the Copper Circle. He's not mentioning himself. I mean, he's not mentioning Greg. He's mentioning Katrina. He's mentioning Arthur. He's not mentioning Henry Coleman. And he's not mentioning Greg. That's a little odd. It's a little odd that Greg, Matt, and Henry are missing. Greg, Matt, and Henry missing from police call. That's interesting. Okay, then they say, boy, you're giving us a lot of information. He says, I know I have so much evidence. Someone could hear me. And if that happens, I'm done for. I could drop by the station tomorrow and provide it all. And they say, okay, thank you. Please do that. And then he's dead soon after. So one way to interpret it is someone heard him and killed him, but they'd have to have killed him like right then and there. Seems unlikely. It seems to me that this is someone pretending to be Henry Coleman, setting up this fake motive. Now, let's listen to that call so that you can hear more evidence about why we don't think this is Henry, and also about the gum. I wanted to find the gum for DNA. We couldn't do it. All right, let's listen to this. All right, I can see that not only can't I hear it, you can't hear it either. Now that is troubling. Why has that happened? That's gonna have to be fixed. All right, so you could see what happened. We lost the stream. Basically, OBS hung, crashed. Now I guess we're back, but it's confused my thing a bit, my plug-in here. So it's not ideal, but let's see if it happens again. This is the worrying part. Okay, so if that happens again, you know what to do. Just reload the page. It means we've crashed, but now we're going to see if I can come back to the audio of the laptop, which obviously we need to make sure is working. I mean, we're going to need it to work. All right, so I'm going to see if it crashes again when we do this. Let's see. All right, so everything's fine now. Okay, now we're going to see if we can hear audio. Wow, you can't hear the audio. Why is that? Okay, let's try this. All right, just hang with me for a second here. We're going to lose this video. Now we're going to try to bring it back. Wow, why can we not hear the audio? That's very problematic because we're going to need audio. Let's try reconnecting. What are we going to do here if we can't hear the audio? Is it possible Is it possible it's just that that the laptop is muted? Is that possible? Let's try now. Maybe it was just that, although that would be no reason why it would crash, but...
Woodlock Police Station.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, my name's Henry Coleman.
All right, we're
I'm a
getting
student
there.
at
We're
Woodlock,
getting
and I'm
there.
calling to report illegal and
So you
immoral
can hear this
wrongdoing by a
now.
group of people.
All right, that was fine. It was just that the laptop was muted. All right, so you could hear it when I just clicked play this last time, right? All right, we're about back to normal. Only the fact that I can't tell how long I've been streaming is broken. All right, that's fine. We're going to be able to do it. We're going to be just fine. Although I would love to fix that. All right, let's see if we can hear it together and we'll get back on track.
Woodlock Police Station.
Hello. Yes, my name's Henry Coleman. I'm a student at Woodlock, and I'm calling to report illegal and immoral wrongdoing by a group of people at the university.
Okay, I'm with you, Mr. Coleman.
It's about a group called the Copper Circle. Their network is extremely influential. It includes the university dean himself, his daughter Katrina, his son Arthur, who goes by the name of Reagan in person, Alex Hackins, Marie Grace.
Excuse me, sir. Are you chewing gum or something? I can't hear you very well.
Yep, sorry. They use their network for influence peddling bordering on corruption. Notably, a parent of one of its members works at the White House. They have the final say on who gets on its internship program and who makes the reserve list. The family needs to be investigated. It's rotten for the other candidates.
That's a lot of information in one go, Mr. Coleman. Do you have any evidence to back this up?
Yes, I know. I have so much evidence, but someone could hear me here, and if that happens, I'm done for. I could drop by the station tomorrow and provide it all.
Okay, as you wish. The best thing to do is to come tomorrow so we can take the appropriate action.
Perfect. I'll see you tomorrow then.
All right, so the thing to notice there is he's chewing the gum. He seems very calm, but I just realized, like, my whole theory of Sonia and her throwing away the knife doesn't work. That's obviously a man. But why don't we go and try to see if we have an interview with Greg and see if these voices match. Let's see if we can find a voice match.
Hello, Mr. Scott. We have a few questions we'd like to ask you about Henry Coleman. Do you have a few minutes?
Of course. I didn't really know him, but if I can be of help.
We've been told you're going out with Katrina, reportedly a friend of Henry's. Could you confirm this?
Yes, that's right. They were pretty close. Katrina and I have been together for a year. We met at rowing. What's all this got to do with Henry's death?
Okay, so it's not going to be exact same. Obviously, he's putting on a voice, but that could be consistent. Let's listen to the other men.
Hello, Mr. Radley. Could you tell me a bit about your relationship with Henry?
Hello. Yes. Henry was my best friend here. Had been since the very first day here. I didn't have any other required books, so Henry volunteered to lend me his.
This sounds
We
like
did
the
everything
same
together.
voice.
I just can't understand who would do this. Henry was such a harmless guy. Things won't be the same
Boy,
without him.
Matt's voice sounds
Do you know what
similar,
he was
doesn't
doing
it?
last night? Why he was in Building 29?
I have no idea. He told me he was going to meet Caroline. Maybe they were meeting there for some privacy. It's the
Boy,
only
it
reason
sounds
people
like
go there.
Matt's voice.
Could you tell me your student ID number, Mr. Radley?
Of course. It's 357256.
So no one goes there. Were you there recently?
No, I wasn't.
Lying won't help you here.
As I was saying, people often have sex there, away from prying eyes. Okay, maybe I went there with my girlfriend, but earlier in the week.
What's your girlfriend's name?
Marie Grace.
Okay, we'll check that out. Caroline told us that Henry had gone out to celebrate being selected for the White House internships. Was that not with you?
No, he told me he was going to spend the night with her. Maybe he went to see someone else? To be honest, I think he was hiding things from Caroline. He'd always be sneaking out.
Was he cheating on her?
Yeah, rumor had it he was getting laid elsewhere. The rowing team would often see him around the boathouse, Building 29. Some thought it was with Katrina, one of Henry's friends. In fact, Greg, her boyfriend, supposedly asked Henry to stop hanging out with her because of the rumors.
What's this Greg's surname?
No idea. He's a junior. He's also a member of my fraternity, but we call him Gregster. He's absolutely huge, head of the rowing team. Not a fan of Henry at all.
Where could we find his surname?
There was a race this weekend. They may have mentioned him in the race report.
Okay. But if Henry wasn't with you, where were you last night?
I was studying in the common room of Building L2. We have exams soon, and it's easier to study there than in my room. I stayed there all evening and went back to my parents' house around 10:30 p.m.
Could someone vouch for your presence in Building L2?
I bumped into a blonde girl as I was walking into the building around 7 p.m., but I don't know who she is. Apart from her, I was completely alone. I can't really concentrate with people around.
Okay, so you live with your parents?
Yeah, I'm lucky. We're really close, so no need to pay rent.
Do you know of anyone else who may have held a grudge with Henry?
There was some major tension between him and Alex, his sweet mate, but that doesn't surprise me seeing how crazy she is. Rumor has it she drove her little brother to suicide. You should check out her room. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And, secondly, if Caro had heard the cheating rumors, that can't have been pretty. She's quite the jealous type.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Radley.
All right. So, boy, that sounds like Matt, doesn't it? Jamie said, sounds like Matt on the call pretending to be Henry in my notes. I wanted a second opinion. Okay. So, yes, I think it's Matt. And now we have a motive if he's possessive of Henry. But, boy, that's not a very good motive. Like, he's got Henry has a girlfriend. He's not killed the girlfriend. And we don't think Matt got kicked out of the club. So it's not a very good motive, but it sure sounds like Matt's voice. All right, let's take a look at our other evidence. Hopefully we won't have similar problem as before. Henry's voicemail. Let's listen to that, and then let's read Sonia's transcript. So this voicemail is going to be we'll just listen to it together. 4537 is what I have recorded. Okay. Let's listen to his voicemails.
You have one new message and 2 saved messages. Message received on October 17th at 9:57 p.m.
30 minutes after his death.
I've been thinking about things since our fight on Monday. I think we should just forget about it. I don't know who gave me that note or why even, and I don't know who this girl is, but we're happy together, Henry. So, if you're willing to let her go, I'm willing to forget all this. There, I said it. I love you. Good night. Hey, who is it? What are you doing? Don't go! Who is it?
Good evening, Caroline. Is everything all right?
Oh, hi, Professor McCully. I'm fine. Just taking a walk. You?
I'm fine. Maybe you should head back and get some sleep. If campus security finds you like this, you'll get in trouble.
Yes, I'll go home. Good night.
Message received on October 17th at 9:03 a.m.
So just to reiterate what we heard, this is a message left by Caroline, Henry's girlfriend, 20-30 minutes after he died. And she leaves a message saying, let's get back together. And then she hears someone on the path or something, and she mentions this. We can read what she said in her other statement. And then she she's still connected, leaving a message when this professor, Sonia McCulley, walks by her and tells her to head home. The next message we're going to hear is one that Henry did get that morning.
Henry, hello, it's Tom. I've just seen the results. Congratulations, it's amazing. Come and drop by when you have a minute. I have a little something for you. Speak soon.
Message received on October 17th at 3:31 p.m.
Hi, Henry, it's Greg. Listen, you were apparently spotted with Katrina at the library on Monday. The rumors are becoming an issue. I think we can sort this out calmly, but we really need to talk. I'm free today. I'll let you call me back so we can organize something.
So we might want to study Katrina's message more, but let's just write a little note to ourselves. So Katrina's voicemail around 9:58, where she meets Sonia. All right, let's see. We still don't know why Matt was looking for the notebook in Henry's room. Well, that's a great point. So let's find that. Let's find that where someone mentions that, because if we're going after Matt because of the voicemail, we should take a good look at it. I think it's Alex, the sweet mate, that tells us about it. Let's see. Matt says there's tension with Alex, and she says, I wouldn't believe a word that Matt says. He should be your prime suspect. Why? Henry and I got accepted into the White House internship. Matt wasn't. He was pissed about that. They were friends, and she says, yeah, their friendship had become strained. They were getting on each other's nerves, a lot of grumbling. Matt's got a temper, always about to beat someone up, had an inferiority complex. There you have your main suspect. When did tension start? Here we go. Henry came into my room in a panic. He asked if Matt had been in his room. I said he had, and Henry went white as a sheet. Matt had apparently come to borrow a notebook to copy some notes, and he had a spare key. So, a couple weeks before the death, Matt gets Henry's notebook. And then Henry goes white as a sheet. So there's something in Henry's notebook that is important. That would be around October 3rd or so. So that seems very important. If we're looking for a motive for Matt, then what he saw in that notebook would seem to be perhaps a key item for us. All right, are we up to date now? Are we ready to go and look at the questions and stuff? I think we are. So let's remind ourselves of the 4 questions for today, 2 of which we've answered. This first one here, I'm not allowed to click on anymore. Who wrote the note of congratulations? Okay, so this was discovering that Professor Tom was Henry's biological father. Locate the murder weapon. That's the knife we found in the lake. Now here's the one that seems like we should have been able to do it first, that we haven't solved. Caroline claims an anonymous note was slipped under her door, asking her to go to the boathouse. This is when she discovered Henry was cheating on her. Find out who Henry was meeting. Ascertain which member of the Copper Circle wrote the note. Okay, so we think we know that this is Greg, aka Armstrong. But MK should be the person that Henry was meeting with, and that's the part we don't know. I still think it might be Sonia. And here's something that we didn't pay enough attention to last time. This is asking about Monday. So this is asking who MK is. It's not asking about the night he was killed. Could Matt be anonymous? We think anonymous is Greg, aka Armstrong. We know, and sorry, we don't need to know the real name here. We just need to know the alias of anonymous. And we know the alias of anonymous is Armstrong because of that curly A. So now whether that's Matt or Greg, we can't be sure about. But we know how to answer this. The question is, who was Henry meeting on Monday? In other words, who is MK? Now that's the thing, that's the part that I still think is probably Sonia and not Matt. But we haven't answered that. We could take a guess at it. I feel like we're missing some proof, though, that it was Sonia, rather than just Caroline running into her. So why don't we actually listen to Sonia's interview again, or read her transcript and remind ourselves if she reveals any information. Did you see Caroline? And she says, yes, I saw her when leaving my office. We exchanged a few words and she left. Did you notice anything? She had a few drinks. So she's saying everything that's consistent, but she's not revealing any information about whether she happened to be having an affair with Henry. She could have been heading, I think you're right, she could have been. Yes, she could have been, and in fact, that is a little bit consistent with this, right? Because on Wednesday, it would have been, actually, no. Well, it's not clear, but this would have been at 8 p.m. So that phone call is at 9:30. So we don't really know when he would have met her. And she says she's coming from her office, but that's at like 10 p.m. But it sure feels like we need more information to certainly to be sure that it was Sonia. She could have been coming back from the boathouse too, yes. Either way. We don't have much proof it's Sonia, though. Ooh, Anna just saw something very interesting. MK said they have lessons on Monday and Wednesday. Is that true? I completely missed that. That would be huge. That would be huge. I mean, I've always thought it was Sonia, but That would be huge if that's true. Okay, let me see. What does she say? Looks like my schedule will be the same this semester. Free Mondays and Wednesdays. And sure enough, Mondays and Wednesdays is when he meets with her. Although, after 8 p.m., that doesn't really seem like you're free Monday and Wednesday. He has classes Monday and Friday, but that's not what she's saying. She's saying free Mondays and Wednesdays, and that is when they meet. I think that's pretty convincing. Okay, that's pretty convincing. Compelling, yes. All right, so I have another. So someone else brought up something else, which is that an anonymous call reported the body, right? We did learn that, right? That an anonymous call reported the body. Do we have that in printed material, or is it just... Anonymous phone call received at 9:55 p.m. And in the chat, Jamie says, Sonia wouldn't have wanted to be identified if she found the body. That's a great point. Now, I wonder if one of the things we haven't finished doing is looking at more police reports. Caroline's call was 9:57. And the anonymous phone call 9:55. But it took Caroline a minute, so it would be 3 or 4 minutes between when Sonia saw the body. But it's a good point. Is that right? Can we just confirm that? Because that would make it a little hard for it to be Sonia to have found the body and then 3 minutes later be talking so calmly to Caroline. Let me look at this transcript again. 9:57. She runs into Sonia a few minutes later. That makes it pretty hard for Sonia to have been the one to call in the body. Because even if logistically she could have called in the body at 9:55, surely she's not running into Caroline 2 minutes later, calm as can be. So we don't know who would have called it in. But probably not Sonia. Now, what I was going to say, though, is that we haven't fully explored the police reports. And if we could, for example, find a police report by Sonia about anything, we might be able to match handwriting. Nelson says, what if she's not the one that found the body, but she did meet with Henry and they had their little fling? That's possible. It's certainly possible. We don't know. But I think maybe we should look for more possible reports. So here are the things we haven't done as on my to-do list here. We haven't called the phone number that's on the gum wrapper. We haven't checked all the police archives. We haven't checked the door code history to find all the places that Henry went. We could catch him going to the professor's room. We don't know what to make of the sandwiches. We don't know what to make of the red button. And we don't know who called the anonymous phone call to report the body. So I think there's a good chance he met Sonia, but I think maybe we should, before we try to answer that and sort of guess, we should probably check records and see if we can't find any other police archive records about our case. And then maybe we should make that phone call. So why don't we take a break here? And when we come back, we'll get into doing new stuff after we've done our recap. Before we do that, though, one last thing. I do want to spend a moment talking about why the knife puzzle was so bad, which I haven't got a chance to do. You know what? I'm not going to do that. I'll have, when we talk about the case, after we finish it, I'll talk about why that knife puzzle was so bad. For now, though, let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll start digging into new materials. I'll see you in 8 minutes. We are back. Okay, looks like we're going to be able to track everything. Okay. I did want to point out two things. In the chat, there's a comment about the masked person, and I did want to reiterate the clue about that because we haven't gone over it again. So in the autopsy, it said some white wool fibers, and in box 2, we got Caroline's follow-up statement about this note, but she also describes what she saw around the time of the murder. She says, I just remembered something. I was drinking, and we hear this on her phone call where she's like, who's there? Don't go. She says, I remember seeing someone crouching down in the distance as I was walking home. It was weird because no one else was around. When I called out to them, they ran off. What was really strange was they were wearing a white ski balaclava, even though it wasn't cold. So she sees the murderer. I think she has seen the murderer, but she doesn't know what they looked like. Now, I also realized something else. Handwriting. We should probably keep track of handwriting, but I think that's probably Henry's. But you know what? We have another piece of Matt and Henry's handwriting here. And if we think that it's possible that MK could be Matt, here's the handwriting that we would use to match it. So I think we should look at that MK postcard again and see if it's not Matt's handwriting, even though it looks like a woman's handwriting. Matt seems to have some feminine handwriting. It's a little hard because our torn up message, but this top part is Matt. Because Henry says, okay, thanks, Matt. So can we match up? Get it all clear. Can we match up and convince ourselves that it is or isn't Matt's handwriting? All right, let's see. Is there anything distinctive about it? I mean, that's a pretty distinctive of. Look how flourishy that F is. Look at the F and the F. That's a very distinctive little F. Does that look like our F's here? Let's see if we can find an OF, just the same word. Let's find an of. Here's an if. Back off vacation. Here's an if. If and of. It's similar, but I would not call that a match. I would not call the F of and the F of if a match. Anything else distinctive? Here's a hopefully. That's pretty close. Look at the flag F and the flag FU. Boy, that's pretty close. Anything else distinctive about the way he writes? I mean, here's a the, TH. Here's a the. Let's look at these two thes. That's completely different. Look at how this the is written. The T goes down and then to the left and forms the H. And here the T crosses and forms the H. Is this consistent? Here's TH with the top of the T forming the H. Okay, so this TH matches this TH. Let's say that's pretty close. The B in the website and the B in the MK. Okay, so this is a very distinctive B. You say it goes down and then circles like that. Okay. Let's find a B in the MK, lowercase b. By the time you get this, you're probably, yeah, that looks pretty similar. Here it is here. Back, B back. Look at that weird looping B coming back. So what do we think? This looks like Matt. Let's see what people think. The B's are the same, says Anna. The O is quite different. The F in thankful looks similar, hopefully. Uppercase T is quite different. B and P are very distinctive. Look at the F and hopefully on the sign off from MK. I wouldn't discard it being Matt. Can we check the yearbook for his residence address? Could Matt be Kennedy? MK, Matt Kennedy. That's an interesting idea. All right, does anyone want to have a final thought on the handwriting, though? And please make your sentences as complete sentences. I think it's pretty convincing that the B and the P have these weird double backs. And here is the same thing with the doubling back before it turns into the R. Now, did you see an uppercase? Uppercase doesn't really help. Okay, I'd say this is I'd say this is quite close to being Matt. Now, oh, let's look at this. Because the writer would have written this thing too. Look at these distinctive ones. Building 1, room 1, 100 August. That's a very distinctive one. Do we have a 1 here? Unfortunately not. Because, boy, that is a distinctive one. Bring your dumb roommate. That's too bad. That's a very distinctive one. Let's see if Matt is from Texas. If Matt is from Texas, it's all over. Matt Radley is from Woodstock. He is not from Texas. Woodstock is Woodstock, New York. That is not Texas. Now, we could find out that he's doing something in Texas. It's not a deal breaker, but he is not from Texas. What about free Mondays and Wednesdays? That doesn't help us either. All right. Let's look at police reports now. Let's clean up our police report stuff. So we know they're sophomores, so if it involves Matt or Henry, then It's not going to be beyond 2012, but let's see. So here's our current year, 2012. We've probably seen these already. This is the call from Henry. This one is the Grayson Sands. Okay. Can I click in here to make this 2011? No. What's all this? Do these do anything? No. Okay, go back. 2011. Nothing. Now, for the kids, there's not going to be anything before 2011 for Matt. But if we have professors, you could imagine there could be stuff back a few years. Sure doesn't look like it. All right, let's go back to 2005. Surely nothing beyond that. Okay. Unless it's referenced. All right. Now, theft from our current year. We want something with Sonia or something with Matt. Okay, James Dunhill was arrested by Woodlock police for shoplifting. Total value of stolen goods, $1,000. Fine, $7,000. Community service. That's not helpful to us. Okay. How about theft from 2011, previous year? Nothing. 2010, 9, 8. Okay, no thefts. How about death? Nothing for our current year in the archives. 2011, no. All right, how about missing persons from 2012, our current year? What have we got? Have we seen this one? Matthew Vernon, student at Woodlock, missing since 4/16. Last seen in high school. Update, he returned home 5 days later. Case closed. Okay. How about previous year? Thousand 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We might get told about a much older case at some point, but all right, here's our last shot here. Current year assault. We read this one. Suicide attempt by Ashley Bones. Disciplinary hearing. All right. All right, so that's it for our police archive. No one jumps out at us. I just wanted to see if there's a phone number for the police department. No. Okay. I mean, you could imagine that those people we just saw had articles about them in the police archive. We could ask Warren to go interview them, but we have no real reason to. We know Matt lives at home, so we can't search his room. Although we are told to search Alex's room, that's not very helpful. In our case log, what has it added? Can't tell. Maybe these missing persons, thefts, fraud. I mean, shall we make that phone call? I think we're going to have to make that phone call. So where is our phone call message? What we're trying to do is proof who he was meeting with. All right, I want to try to make this phone call with my phone. I'm making an international call. I don't love that. I would have liked it better if the website portal wouldn't let us make a pretend phone call. I don't love that I have to make a real phone call here, but we'll try it. I don't even know if I know how to make a international phone call. That's not working. Start with a plus. I don't even know why I'm showing you all this, but start with a plus. It's easier said than done. All right. I really don't like using the phone, but all right, let's see. I just started with a 0, which is a plus. Doesn't really, like it doesn't do it. Like you say, start with a plus, but I don't know how to do that. Like there's a little plus there, but that put it a 0. Do I hold it to make a plus? Okay. I hold it to make a plus. Let's try that. 44 20 3807 6808. I don't even know. United Kingdom. Okay, so at least it's doing the right thing now. So that's how you make an international call. You hold this. All right. All right. Two people telling me different things, but let's see if this works.
Renew your plan or refill your account to complete this call.
Okay. I can't do it from here, but I could probably do it from my home phone. Is anyone in... I wouldn't mind going through all this trouble if someone can tell me that it works and there's reason to do it. Is there anyone in England who can make this call and then tell us whether we should bother to do this? Seems like a real missed opportunity for this website to do this for us. All right, no one is answering me. All right. Let's see if we can do it from here. Zero 1144203807680 Let's see what happens.
Your prepaid calling account balance is zero. Please log into your online account to add money.
Lovely. Lovely. Well, this is good. This is good. You can see why you should never make a game like this that requires a real phone call to an international number. All right. The chat says it's the Woodlock police number. So you think it's just generically telling us that it's the Woodlock police? There's no important message for us to listen to? Doesn't really help us in any way. It's just odd. It's the Woodlock Police Fraud Department. In line with current events, the line is not available. The office remains open. Okay. So, but if it's a fraud department, it's an interesting question. Like, is this person have the fraud number for some reason? Yeah, I mean, we know the person was chewing gum, so... Oh, that's clever. Boy, that's clever. Look at what Corsican said. Corsican said, hey, we noticed how distinctive the ones were on the postcard. And are there... Okay, there's no ones here on this note, but there are other numbers. And what we can see here is that these numbers don't match MK. Unfortunately, there's no 1. But look at the 4s. Those 4s look very different. The 3, it's reasonably similar. Too bad there are no 1s here. Fours look pretty different, though. These 4s are big, curvy loops down, almost like there's a U, almost like they're Ys. These fours are very angular. All right, well, I thought that was going to be a bigger clue. I mean, we noticed him chewing gum. So we knew the same person chewing gum made the phone call. It's just, I was hoping we would get a little bit more information. All right. So that doesn't really help us. Except to know that someone seems like they planned to make this phone call. Hold on a second. It is new information. It is new information. We were not sure that the phone call came from that location, but now we kind of know that it did, right? We know that whoever called the police right at the time of Henry's death was chewing gum where the wrapper was in Henry's backpack. So it could have been Henry called right before he got killed. No mention of gum in the mouth, though, or gum found at the scene. That would suggest that the person went away with it. It is a little weird, though, that we don't have stronger evidence to answer this first question. Right? I mean, it feels to me like we should have more hard evidence to answer the question of who he was meeting with. Who was Henry meeting? We've done the phone number. We've searched the police archives. We haven't tracked down the door code history. We haven't tracked down the door code history. Is that going to help us find Sonia? Seems unlikely. Can we find the notebook? If it is Matt's handwriting, then the answer is probably Matt. So did he go to meet Matt and then Matt killed him? That would be a reasonable guess. I just want to see something. We know he lives in room 103B. Do we know? Like, could we search his room for the notebook? Do we know exactly what room he's in? Why do we not know that? Why do we not know? Why do I not remember at least? L1. L1, room 103B. All right, I just want to quickly see this. Since that notebook is what he was afraid Matt would get his hands on. I want to see if we can. Oh, we're not allowed to search the residences. Okay, fine. That solves that. The map wouldn't let us search the student dorms. Okay, good. If Henry wanted to break up with Matt, Matt could kill him. Yes. Although this seems very premeditated. Can we reread the original crime scene report? We certainly glanced through it here. What do you want to see? Wristwatch, jacket, leather shoes. Anonymous phone call at 9:55. There's our scene of crime. Calls the mother, says the sister just got home. No, there's no mention of the gum or the gum wrapper. When we learn about that in box 2, where those items are found in his backpack. Personal items retrieved from victim's backpack. So we have the sandwiches, and we have the button, and we have the crumpled up note, which is the gum wrapper, found in open front pocket. So easy for someone to plant. Did we search for the gum? We did. I did search for the gum because I was hoping we could DNA match that. But we could search for it again, just to make sure I didn't do something wrong. But I absolutely did, because I was very interested in doing that. In fact, I thought I was being brilliant by having us search for the gum. It doesn't even like me to suggest it. All right, so we listened to Matt's voice. What about the ID that doesn't belong to anyone? His girlfriend is Marie Grace. He says, I bumped into a blonde girl. I was completely alone. Here's his alibi. I was studying in the common room of L2. We have exams. Where were you last night? Didn't we record that he's lying? He says he spent the whole night in L2. Says he bumped into a blonde girl. I thought we recorded that he was lying. I'd like to double check that again. Yeah, it was Jenny who says she caught him lying. So he says, I stayed there all evening, went back to my parents' house around 10:30. So he was in there from 7 p.m. till 10:30, and he says he met some generic blonde girl. But my notes say that when we talked to Jenny Dunn, she mentions crossing paths with Matt. Let's see if that's right. Okay, she says, I went to the stadium for the game, for the football game. And she says, the questioner says, did you see anything suspicious on the way to the stadium? And she says, I crossed paths with Matt at Kelly Gardens. I pretended I hadn't seen him. Okay, so that's Matt lying. She's heading to the stadium, and she sees him at Kelly Gardens. She's on her way to one of the stadiums. I can't remember which one. But that's Matt caught lying. The game times are 7:15 and 7:45. Are we sure it means Matt lying? Because Dunn is blonde. Yeah, but I think Matt says he ran into the blonde girl at the same time into the building at 7 p.m. I don't know who she is. So this is L2. He's claiming at 7 p.m. that he was up in the resident hall at L2, whereas Jenny Dunn says she sees him here and pretends not to notice him. So that is not the same person. So I think Matt is definitely lying. The only question is... Also, I think I remember that we tracked Henry leaving from the cafeteria or the diner to where he was going. So the real question is, I think we've got Matt lying, but I still don't know how we're supposed to be so sure of who he's meeting. If you had to guess, what would you guess? That the answer would be Matt or Sonia? All right, we know who this is. We know the alias for the anonymous is really Armstrong. And then, are we thinking this is going to be more likely to be Matt or Sonia? And if it's Matt, surely something should have keyed us into to the K. Like, where are we getting this K from? I mean, he is a member of Sigma Alpha Kappa. Or Kennedy was one of the other ideas. Well, it feels like we're missing something. I mean, we might be able to guess this correctly, but it feels like we are missing some piece of evidence that should lock in that Matt would be referred to by the letter K for MK. What day is the detailed schedule showing us? I don't know what you're asking, Jonathan. What does that mean? I mean, it's showing us the week. The week or the previous week. Right below Matt is Grayson Sands, who is one of the police reports. And Audrey Vernon is on that page too, who had the missing brother for 5 days. The detailed, you mean, are you asking, if you're asking what day does the log showing all of Henry's usage, it's multiple days, including the day of the murder, if that's what you're asking. This is Henry's ID card for the 15th, the 16th, and the 17th. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Nelson says, I think it's Sonia. Matt knew and finds the schedule and then goes to the boathouse. But the handwriting did make me doubt. Didn't we get this in box 2 and have we used it? Okay, please, full sentences. If you're talking about this, we got this in box 2 and we haven't used it. It's absolutely true. We have not made good use of this. We have tracked down that here he is in the boathouse at 9:28. That's the last time he's seen. We have seen that he enters the same way on the 16th and I think the 15th. So we see him, those are the 3 times he's in the boathouse. And we can track where he was prior to getting in the boathouse. And we did that a little bit, but we didn't make good use of that, if that's what you're asking. I'd like to cross-reference his key card usage. Okay, don't know what that means, cross-reference it. But this is all Henry's log. We could track his activity if that's what you wanted to do. His last stop is at 29. Before that, he's in southwest of 26. Which is in the cafeteria. I remember we got that far. Southwest, whether that means he entered or left it. Then he's in 25, which is at the soccer field. Then he's in 5, a few minutes before that, which is here, which is Upper Buena Vida. Then he's in 6 at Lower Buena Vida, which is the art gallery. Could he have hid something in the Egyptian mummy? Before that, he's in L1, which is his dorm room. Before that, he's back in Lower Buena Vida. Before that, he's in building 17, which is here near the quad. 17 is the Adventura Hall. Before that, he's in 20, which is here. Which is Esperanto Hall. These may be his classes. Before that, he's in 4, which is here, the Department of Law, and so on. This is Wednesday. We can see where he should be. Buena Vista East, Department of Law. So his last class is in Buena Vista East, room 102. We just have upper and lower Buena Vista, 2:35 to 6:30, 14:35. So he goes to his last class here, sociology, and then he heads home. Then he has, it looks like maybe he's walking through 5 and 6. From home, looks like maybe he walks through 6 and then walks through 5, then heads to the soccer field. From the soccer field, he makes a detour to 26. So he goes from his home after his last class, comes out 6, goes 25, goes to the soccer field, then goes back to the cafeteria before he goes to the boat club. Okay. Yes, you're reminding me what we all agreed to. It's asking who he was meeting on Monday at the boat club, which we know was MK because it's penciled in exactly 6 p.m., 6:30 MK. So Monday is October 15th. So here he is walking into the boathouse at 6:14. You want to trace what he did before that, though. His previous stop was at 23, which is probably going to be the aquatic center, which it is, which is where he was scheduled to be. So he was sticking to his schedule. I don't know. I don't know what else to do with it. And after, well, that's an interesting question. So he goes to his aquatic schedule. Then he meets at the boathouse at 6:14 and he's there for an hour. After that, he goes home. He goes straight home after the boathouse. Then at midnight, he goes back to the boathouse. No, yes. At midnight, he goes back to the boathouse. Why would that be? And then he goes back home. Well, that's very interesting. He goes from his class and he ends up at 6:30 meeting MK, which is what we're supposed to answer at the boathouse. But it is odd that an hour later, he goes home. And then at midnight, it's 1 a.m. At 1 a.m., he shows up back at the boathouse at 0:57 in the morning on the next day. And then he's there for an hour and a half before he goes home. So that's pretty odd. That's pretty odd that he's there on the 16th, which is a Tuesday, from 1 a.m. to 2:23 a.m. Nelson reminds us, this is, boy, we're spending a lot of time recapping, but you are reminding us of stuff we figured out. Yes, that is the emergency meeting. You are absolutely right. That is the emergency meeting. That is the emergency meeting. Okay, so that solves that. Doesn't bring us any closer to the answer of who MK is, though. Is there anything about Henry's movements earlier in the day? I mean, yeah, we've got 10 entries of where he went earlier in the day, but until 6:15, he goes through 6 and 5, which are the Buena Vista places. Then he goes to 4, which is the Department of Law at 9:29. That's his meeting here. So he's going to his class. He goes to 5 and 6, and then he goes to his class. Then at 10:30, it says lunch with Caro. He's in building 9, which is the Welcome Center. Then he goes to building 15. Which is this random building, the library. Then he goes to 16, which is the restaurant at 12:05. I guess that's his lunch with Caro. Then he goes to 7, which is Department of Literature and History for this class. Then he goes to his hockey practice. Then he goes to 29. So I don't know. That doesn't, not enough. I mean, I guess it's worth looking at if anything jumped out, but nothing really jumps out. Before all that discussion, there was a discussion about the 2 people that were in our missing persons fraud assault. Jamie says right below Matt is Grayson Sands, who is one of the police reports, and Audrey Vernon. Do you think we should, let's see what happens if we ask to interview these people, but I think we're almost at a dead end here where we're just going to have to guess about these people. So Grayson Sands, hopefully you spelt that right. If I try to search for it, if I try to have her interview this person, it says it's not related. And what was the other person? Was Audrey Vernon, assuming you've spelled it right. She doesn't see a connection. All right, we're going to have to try to answer this because it's impossible for us to tell whether it wants us to guess or whether we want more information, whether we need some information. It feels to me like we must be missing something that should give us a clear answer here. It feels like we've got two people and no distinctive proof. So I'm agreeing with Anna that I think we're just going to have to try these two people. I don't like this guessing between these two. It feels like we should know the answer to this. Piece together events from Monday. Well, you're right. You're right. But I mean, I don't know. We could search the mummy's stuff where he went into the library or whatever, but we have to know what to search for. We just don't know. We do have something else that's missing. The balaclava. Could we search for the balaclava somewhere? Would it be thrown in the lake? That's an interesting idea. Maybe before we put our answer here, I don't see why we would have to search for. We can't search Matt's room. He lives off campus. And I don't know why they wouldn't have searched the boathouse. So I don't know why I would have to search for the balaclava in the boathouse. But what about the balaclava in the lake? No. Okay, but we can't do this forever. We're just going to guess at this. This is so weird. Caroline said she got the note on Monday and went there, but Henry was alone in the boathouse. What? She did? I don't remember what she says about that. I went to our usual meeting spot. He wasn't expecting to see me. He must have been meeting someone else, someone he'd be cheating on me with. In any case, they clearly knew about it and wanted to end our relationship. Henry then promised he'd stop his thing on the side. Okay. So that's it. Okay, guys, it's too much. It's too much. There's too much going on. There's too many open-ended, impossible things, and too many. Everyone's talking about different stuff. We're just going to go and put in, for the third time, I'm going to type in Armstrong, and then the question is whether you think it's more likely to be Sonia or Matt. I'm going to put Matt. Nelson thinks it's Sonia. Well, we're going to try Matt and Sonia. And we'll see what happens. But I do not like this guessing. And this is the second time that this game has involved us guessing. And that's exactly what the problem with the knife thing was. How can you be sure it's him? Did you question him? Are we, this is what we asked ourselves last time. Can we re-interview people? This seems to be suggesting that we could re-interview him. Let's see what happens. Or that's just a generic "you're wrong" answer. Oh, fuck you. So I guess that means it's the wrong answer. What's this? This is fucking nonsense with the little white showing up here. I'm going to guess Sonia, and then I'll be plenty angry enough to look at a hint. Sonia Macaulay. All right, let's see what happens now. Does it want Armstrong's identity? That's a great question. This would be a totally ridiculous answer, though, if that's what it wants. Ascertain which member of the Cooper Circle wrote the note, the alias of Anonymous. That seems like it wants Armstrong. These seem to be two separate questions. Find out who Henry was meeting and find out which member of the Copper Circle wrote the note. These are two different questions. And it's giving us this ridiculous thing here. All right, we're going to go to hints. I'm too filled with anger to spend more time and just get more angry. So let's not do this to us again. Start, identify the alias of Anonymous. Let's see what it wants with us. Didn't they sign the meetings? Maybe that could help us. Yes, we know that. The signatures. What about the signatures of the previous meeting? The ones on the minutes found. Okay, we already got that. Does the A look familiar? Yes, we got that. Armstrong. Okay, so we got that part right. So we've gotten apparently wrong who they're meeting. Is it just going to be Greg? No, Greg is the writer of the note. Okay, here we go. Maybe it was Greg, because he did say they should meet. Yes, but that was a different day. Okay, here we go. I got to take a deep breath and look at this hint because I'm already getting on tilt with this. No place like home. Try working out where the postcard was sent from. Okay, so we figured out this was Texas. Why? And we realized that was significant, that MK is in Texas. So is this just someone we didn't even... Someone who's not even on our radar? I thought we found only one person from Texas, and it's Dave Baker, who we've never had any encounter with. It's bizarre that we figured out it was from Texas, and that still doesn't... Well, here's Tiana Gauss. Okay, so the original comment that there was only one person in Texas is wrong. There is another person from Texas. Tiana Gillies is from Austin, Texas. But still, why would she be an MK? All right, so we've got two people from Texas. So let's do this. Let's try to interview those two people. Maybe we should have thought that. Maybe we should have at least followed up on Dave Baker. Mr. Baker, could I ask you a few questions? It's in relation to the death of Henry Cohn. Such a sad story. It's an amazing guy. Do you know him? Nope, not personally. We've spoken a couple times. Where were you last night? I stayed in. Can someone confirm this? I was alone at first, but my sweet mate Maria came home after the game. She had to study. Maria who? Maria Joyner. Could I have her student ID number? I have your student ID number. Okay, so Dave Baker. 295812, which doesn't help us. He gives us an alibi of Maria Joyner. So now let's talk to Maria Joyner. Maria Joyner says, she says, can this be quick? She says, I was with my cheerleaders. We were at the stadium, and afterwards I went home. I had to study. I hadn't eaten. Can anyone vouch for this? Yes, my sweet mate, Dave Baker. You surprised me with dinner when I got back. Noted. I also need to see your student ID number. She says 292750. All right, now let's talk to the other person from Texas that we don't remember seeing last time, but apparently we almost overlooked it. So let's go and talk to this other person, Tiana Gillies, who is from Texas. And she might be MK. In fact, she better be MK, or I don't know what we're doing with our lives. Tiana Gillies. Oh, come on, guys. What the fuck? Why are we looking at one person but not another? Okay, hold on a second. Here's another Texas. Kareem Collins. Looks like that's what Korzakant was saying as well. Well, there's a K. Kareem Collins. All right, this is going to blow our case wide open here. This is surely going to be MK. Audio. Yes, of course. All right, I think we found our MK. Oh, dear God. All right, here we go.
Hello, Mr. Collins. Could you confirm this postcard came from you?
Yes, that was me.
Whoa.
Why didn't you come forward earlier? You know that we're investigating a murder here?
I know. But I was scared because it was me he was coming to see that evening. I told myself that if you discovered our relationship, I'd become suspect number one.
Your silence certainly doesn't help your case. Did you meet him on the night of the murder?
No, I didn't. We were meant to meet, but I was late. When I got there, he was on the floor covered in blood. I called the police as soon as I saw his body.
So you were the anonymous call. Could you talk me through your evening? Please take your time.
Yes, that was me. I was going to meet Henry just after the game with the Wildcats, just like every Wednesday. But when I got out of the shower, someone had stolen my towel and all my clothes. I waited for everyone to leave before going to my locker, but I had no gear there either.
What time did you eventually arrive at Building 29?
I was about 30 minutes late. When I realized I wouldn't find my stuff, I quickly threw on some clothes from the lost and found and left. When I got there, I saw Henry's body. I panicked. I called the police and ran.
We'll need to check all this. Had you noticed anything strange with Henry recently?
We'd always meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. It was the only time I was free. He'd never missed one of our meets. But on Monday, he left me a voicemail telling me he couldn't meet, but he gave no explanation. I couldn't reach him afterwards. I thought we'd talk about it on Wednesday night.
Could that have triggered an outburst of anger?
Of course not. It wasn't like that between us. I was really worried. Maybe something happened with Carol.
Exactly. Why stay with his girlfriend if you had something special?
He wasn't ready to accept it all. He wanted to go into politics, and he was scared that his sexuality would ruin that. But he told me recently he was going to finally leave her.
But Caroline told us he was planning on ending things with you. That would give you a motive.
That's impossible. She didn't know about us. You're just trying to get me to fess up, but I'd never do anything like that.
The evidence will speak for itself. If you saw the body, you saw the message. Did those symbols mean anything to you?
No, they were just some strange symbols. But I did notice Henry was wearing a watch that I'd never seen before.
You mean it didn't belong to him?
Not that I know of. He was stressed about his student loan. There's no way he could have afforded a watch like that.
Interesting. One last thing. We'd like to access his voicemail, but it has a password. Do you have any idea what it could be?
I don't know the exact password, but he had a really bad memory for these types of things. So much so, I would see him hide notes to help him remember.
Okay. Thank you for your information, Mr. Collins. We'll be back later.
So it's clear the game intended for us to find this guy early on in the chain of reasoning. We just overlooked it. I guess I can't really fault the game. We should have, once we saw it was Texas, we should have more carefully gone through the yearbook and tried to interview everyone from Texas. That's our fault. I guess we just got to take responsibility for that. We were trying to identify MK. We noticed very early they were from Texas. We did look through the yearbook for Texas. It feels like we found one person, so we weren't careful enough about it. We got sloppy, and I'm not sure we even tried to talk to that person. I think we just assumed that that was not going to be enough information and not enough basis to talk to someone. I think we figured that we were going to find some other reason to get a person of interest, and then if we noticed they were from Texas, that would be enough. But I don't think it occurred to us to just talk to everyone from Texas. But I guess that's bad on us. Yeah, the MK also threw us. All right. Well, there are lessons to be learned, a bunch of lessons, and the hint wasn't so bad, right? The hint told us something we knew, but it also led us to realize that we hadn't chased down all of the angles with that. It is a little crazy, though, that the handwriting seems so similar. All right, so we know the answer to this. Let's go ahead and put in this answer. And then we'll see what the last question is. So the person he was meeting was Kareem Collins, who he was having a gay love affair with. Armstrong is going to be Greg, who's the alias of Anonymous.
So, to summarize, Henry's sword of Damocles.
So to summarize, oh, you're probably hearing this.
Circle was that he was secretly seeing Murray Kay. Kareem Collins. Someone revealed this to Caroline, Henry's girlfriend. We still don't know who wrote the anonymous note, but we worked out that this person is also a member of the secret society and uses the alias Armstrong.
Of course, we're not sure. All right, so have we unlocked our last question? Yes. Update. Update your list of suspects. Okay. So I can't click on this. I don't know why. Perhaps it wants me to update in the case log. You can see 3 new things here. I'm going to click on this. How do we see what are the 3 new things? We don't. Now it's gone. Now can I click on this? No. All right. Where do I update my list of suspects? Last time we updated it, it was here. We clicked on it. Why can I not click on this? Surely I should be able to click on this. I'm going to click F5 to reload this page. Hopefully we haven't lost anything. Now can I click on this? Yes. So just a bug on the website. I guess it just wants us to add this new person. I hope it's not wanting me to add all the others. Confirm. Oh, guys, come on. Don't make me do this whole thing again. Why is it making me do this whole thing again? Really? Do we have to add the father in now? Clearly the father was a big part of this. And we can eliminate Caroline because of her phone call. So there was Alex Atkins. And then we had Arthur McDouglas. This is stupid that I have to do this again. We're not adding Caroline because of her phone call alibi. Is there anyone else we want to add? Can we clear the people in the Henry call? I don't know what you're asking. Should I be adding? Okay, Sonia's not in this list anymore. If he wasn't having the affair with Sonia, she's not on the list. The father has no motive, so the father shouldn't be on this list. So is this it? Oh. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Hopefully someone in the channel can help out a little bit here. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, chat's kind of going off on wild goose chases, but the discussion about the fraud call, you don't mean, okay, well, we noticed that he'd only mentioned certain people, but surely that's not enough to rule someone out. But the game is saying very clearly here, a little hint. Have you checked which members of the Copper Circle were present at the emergency meeting? Maybe you can rule out a suspect. So here is our emergency meeting. But how do we rule out a suspect from this? Henry complaining that Greg used information against him to an outsider, which was the girlfriend. As a guardian, it's member Kennedy's responsibility to sanction it, to expel the person. I don't see how this rules anyone out. What? Okay, but how does that... First of all, she's not in our list. So we can't take her off it. And how does anyone here... I don't get it. What's the theory? Is the theory that because of the word snitch, that only people who were here would know about this? Would know to use the word snitch? I don't see how this is supposed to rule people out. We know who all these people are, except we don't know who Kennedy is, but we know Kennedy is the guardian, which is probably Alex with her other key. I just I don't see how this. And it says, which alias is missing from the emergency meeting? Okay. Stop. 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 Everyone stop. Everyone stop. Look. This message is telling us one of these people to remove from this list. It's saying, go look at the emergency list and get rid of one of these people. Right? That's what this is saying. It's saying we've got one too many people on this list. And we think that this is probably Kennedy. And then I guess it's being suggested to us that because Kennedy is here kicking people out, they can't be the killer? Anna says, compare the two meeting aliases. I have no idea why you're saying that or what relevance it has to anything. So let's try again. What is your theory of what we're doing? Should we be looking for people who aren't at this meeting and get rid of them? So is that what we're trying to do? Find out who didn't come to this meeting? We've got someone named Bach, someone named Jobs. But we don't know who these two people are. And Hepburn. 1, 2, 3. We think Arthur is Reagan. We think Greg Scott is Artemis. We don't know which one is Matt. Bach, Hepburn, Jobs, or Kennedy. In fact, we think Matt is probably the killer. So Jonathan says something quite interesting. Are we supposed to eliminate Collins because he's not part of the society, so couldn't have left the symbols? He certainly says he's not part of the society. We have no reason to think he is. It's not a bad theory, but it doesn't really comport with this hint, does it? This says, look at the emergency meeting, find out which members were there, and rule out a suspect. So I guess I'm willing to try it. I'm going to try this just so I can wallow in the anger if it's wrong. Fuck me. All right. Well, no mention of whether I should have removed him or not. So I guess I'm going to put him back. Now I'm going to take off Alex. This is so stupid. All right. Now we're going to have to close this page to go to the hints. And then we're going to have to re-put in these people. It's like we're playing a game of Mastermind, except it doesn't tell you how many are right, how many are wrong, what it's referring to. Okay. Here we go. I can't do this. I can't play this game with these people. We know how many times each suspect entered Building 29. By verifying their motives for entering, we can start to rule out suspects. All right. Well, now I see why it's talking about the emergency meeting. So can you see now why it's talking about the emergency meeting? I'll leave this up here while you guys can see if you can recapitulate why it's talking about the emergency meeting. Why is it talking about using the emergency meeting to eliminate people along with this hint? No one is speaking up. Okay. The answer is because while we aren't told why these people entered, what we think is that anyone who only entered once could not have come and killed him because they were there for the emergency meeting. So everyone on this list, except for Henry, was only in there once. So everyone at the emergency meeting could not have killed him because they were only ever in there for the emergency meeting. So if we get our total list of all the IDs, every single one of them at the emergency meeting should be eliminatable. Except if that rule about them discovering an extra ID was wrong. But we think maybe that means a different ID. So Greg was not at the emergency meeting, so it still could be him. But it can't be Katrina, and it can't be Arthur anymore, because he was only in there once for the emergency meeting. And it can't be Alex if Alex is Kennedy. And it can't be Marie Grace if Marie Grace is Artemis. But Matt, we don't know who's Matt. So it could be him. So thankfully, this didn't disappear. So could still be Greg, because Greg wasn't at the meeting, meaning his one-time entering could have been when he killed him. But the real person we can remove here is Arthur. And then the other question is, if Alex is the godfather, then we can get rid of her. If Alex is the guardian, aka Kennedy, then we can get rid of her. We just don't know if that's her, though. We don't know if the game wants us to think it's her. I don't like this guessing business, though. We've already eliminated Marie. I don't even know why we didn't put Marie back on our suspect list, but even if we had, we would have taken her off. She does have a key around her neck, but so do the other guy. I'm going to see if confirm works now.
Great work once again, Detective. We're whittling down the list of suspects quite nicely, and hopefully we'll soon have the killer behind bars. With the latest items in your next box. Speak soon, Detective.
All right. So we better write down that list. So we were able to take off Arthur, who we knew was Reagan, because he only had one entry into the thing. So Alex, I guess. Now, if we had the odd thing is, look at this fucking bullshit. Was skipping frames. Okay, the odd thing is that if we were allowed to conclude that Alex is Kennedy, then we would have been able to eliminate her too. I don't know. Apparently, we weren't allowed to do that. At least in both cases, the hint was, one little hint was enough to put us back on track. Maybe we only need to eliminate Arthur after hearing in the fake Henry call that he is Reagan. Although if it's a fake call, then we shouldn't be able to rely on that fake caller telling the truth. But so be it. All right, well, we survived it. Pretty rough. I mean, it's clever about the one-time access, but perhaps a little too clever by half, because we've got that odd, ambiguous mention of an ID that wasn't recognized. So I don't know how we're to make sense of that. All right, but we survived it. We survived it, and the laptop is doing its little glitching bullshit again. So let's hope it doesn't cause us to lose more frames. All right, so let's chat for a second about, let's try to calm down. Let's try to calm down a little bit. So we don't have the luxury of putting off box 3 till tomorrow, which would be smart. It would be smart if we took a break now after 11, 12, 1, 3.5 hours. It would be better to break up each session into its own, each box into its own session, but we really can't do that. Because if it goes anything like before, we're going to need more than one session to finish the game. So I think we have to go into box 3 now. Does everyone agree? Because if we save box 3 for tomorrow, we could be asking for a very frustrating tomorrow. We can take a preliminary look at stuff familiarized. If you wanted to be needed, you could stop the stream and start a new one in around 20 minutes. I don't hate that idea. All right, so why don't we do that? Why don't we stop this stream, and then in 15 minutes at 1:45 a.m., 1:45, 15 minutes from now, we'll start up the part 3 stream that was originally scheduled for tomorrow. And then we'll play for a bit till we get a feel for it, and we can stop whenever we want. All right, that's what we're going to do. We're going to end here. We're going to start up the next session in 15 minutes. I'll see you then.